Hey guys, Dr. C here, and welcome back to Statistics for the New Social Scientist. In this video, we're going to talk about comparing two population means using SPSS. So let's get to it. So as you can see, I've already got SPSS fired up and ready to go. So in this example, I'm going to be using some speeding data that I collected about driving behavior around campus. So in order to do this comparing two population means method, we go up to Analyze, Compare Means, and then we do this independent samples t-test. So we'll get this independent samples t-test window here, and you'll notice that there are these two big white rectangles. So one called test variables and one called grouping variable. So here the grouping variable corresponds to your independent variable. It's the variable you think causes some kind of change in your dependent variable. We've also got the test variables here, so that's where we put our dependent variable. So in this situation, I'm interested in how fast the cars are driving, and I might be interested in wondering how having a police officer present affects how fast people drive. So I'll take police present, and I'll make that my grouping variable. Now the next thing we need to do is define our groups. So here we need to specify what is group 1 and what is group 2. So in my situation, 1 represents when a police officer is present, 0 represents when they're not. So I'm going to make the first grouping variable equal to 1 and the second grouping variable equal to 0. Now it's really important to get these defined correctly. So remember, SPSS has no idea what your null hypothesis or your alternative hypothesis is. So if you're thinking group 1 is different from group 2, then you need to make sure that group 1 is the group 1 that you think group 1 is, and that group 2 is the group 2 that you think group 2 is. So in my situation, I'm interested in group 1, which is whether a police officer is present, and I want to compare that to group 2 when the officer is not present. So in this situation, 1 is group 1, 0 is group 2. So then I click Continue, and then I click OK. So we get all of this output here from SPSS, but really the table we want to focus on the most is this independent samples test table. And there really are two major statistics that we care about. So one, we care about this t statistic, and two, we care about this two-sided p-value. So if we want to figure out what the true p-value is, we cannot trust SPSS. So we need to go to a flow chart to let us know what we need to do with that p-value in order to find the true p-value. So here I've got this flow chart, and you'll notice that there are three paths that we can go down. So if you're doing a less than or a lower tail test, then we go down that first path. If you're doing a greater than or upper tail test, then you go down that third path. If you're doing a not equal to or two-tailed test, then you take that middle path. So in our situation, I'm interested in these driving speeds and how the presence of a police officer affects how fast people drive. So what I think is happening is that if you have an officer present, then they're going to be driving slower than when no officer is present. So in this situation, I'm doing a lower tail or a less than test. So I'm going to go down this first path here. Now the second thing I need to do is look at that t statistic. Is it positive or is it negative? If it's positive, I do one thing. If it's negative, I do something else. So in this situation, we have a negative t statistic, so I'm going to go down this path. And if you notice here down at the bottom, it gives you some instructions about what you need to do with that two-sided p to get the true p-value. So here it says, take the two-sided p and divide it by 2. So here I can go back to SPSS, go down this two-sided p. So here I take this 0.001 and then divide it by 2, and that's going to give me the true p-value for doing this lower tail or less than test. Okay guys, so that's the video. That's how you can do this comparing two population means method using SPSS. The rest of the assignment is now up to you.